The Quantum Rebirth. Introduction. In the hidden vales of ancient Tibet, where mist-draped peaks pierced the heavens and worlds flowed together, there stood a sanctuary without a name. Within its time-worn walls, a solitary keeper tended to scrolls so ancient their edges fell away like gold-dried leaves at his very touch. He had not always been called Christopher Martinez. That name fell upon him in a dream during his initiation, when the eternal guardians whispered that every soul traverses countless names across the infinite expanse of its own becoming. His current name was but a fleeting mask, a single thread in the grand tapestry woven by his eternal spirit. On a dawn glimmering gold upon the stones, as the first rays danced through the high windows, Christopher stumbled upon a hidden chamber concealed by a wall that had appeared impenetrable for countless ages. Inside, a solitary scroll rested upon a pedestal, its seal glimmering with arcane symbols he had never beheld. As his gaze fell upon these sigils, they began to shift, slowly turning, reshaping, until their form opened a doorway to understanding. The words flowed directly into his mind. To the one who remembers that they have forgotten. With hands trembling in reverence, he broke the seal. The scroll did not unfurl. Instead, it blossomed, a shimmering lotus blooming in pure light. Spirals of knowledge unfurled from its heart, igniting his consciousness. The greatest deception is not that you have forgotten who you are, but that you believe you have forgotten it all. Your amnesia is the finest illusion, woven by your own infinite creativity. You chose to forget in order to remember. You chose to dream that you might awaken. You chose to become limited, that you might unveil your boundless nature. As Christopher absorbed these words, the chamber filled with a luminescence that seemed to radiate from within him, a radiance forged by his own eternal essence. In that moment, he saw the truth. Humanity's quest to find itself is a cosmic game of hide and seek, for the seeker and the sought are, in reality, the very same. This knowledge is prohibited not because it is perilous, but because it shatters the illusion upon which all separation stands. To realize that nothing was ever truly forgotten, that amnesia itself is the ultimate disguise, is to tug upon a single thread unraveling the grand tapestry of form. And so, O seeker, as you hold these words within your hands, know that you have not stumbled upon them by fate, but by your own eternal design. You are remembering to remember. The path forward is not a quest for something new, but a process of casting aside the veil that obscures what you already are, infinite, eternal, and completely free. Let us begin. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Part 1, The Veil Lifted. Chapter 1, The Memory Merchant's Paradox. In the labyrinthine markets of ancient Alexandria, where spices perfumed the air and merchants hawked wares from distant lands, Jessica Sullivan's shop had no sign. Those who needed her services found their way by following the scent of burning dream sage and the soft chiming of memory bells. Inside her dim sanctuary, shelves lined with crystalline vessels captured the ethereal glow of remembered moments. Jessica was not merely a merchant, but a keeper of the forgotten, trading in the currency of lost dreams and misplaced remembrances. One sweltering afternoon, a veiled figure entered her shop, moving with the deliberate grace of someone walking through water. "I seek to remember something," the visitor whispered, "that has never happened." Jessica paused in her work of decanting a childhood memory into a sapphire vial. How can one remember what has not occurred? The visitor removed their veil, revealing eyes that held the depth of ancient wells. Because all possibilities exist simultaneously in the great archive of the soul, I seek not to remember the past, but to recall the infinite. This exchange awakened something in Jessica that had slumbered beneath years of trading in linear memories. She realized that every person who entered her shop wasn't truly seeking to remember. They were trying to recall their own vastness, compressed into the shape of specific memories. That night, Jessica dreamed of her inventory transforming, each bottle and vial expanding to contain not just memories, but entire universes of potential. She understood then that she had been selling fragments when she could have been offering wholeness. Know this, dear seeker, your memories are not recordings of what was, but doorways into what always is. When you believe you have forgotten something, you're actually standing at the threshold of remembering everything. The practice is simple but profound. Before sleep each night, hold an empty vessel, a cup, bowl, or your cupped hands. Close your eyes and imagine it filling not with specific memories, but with the pure light of infinite possibility. Let this light overflow the vessel's edges, spilling into your being. As you drift toward sleep, whisper, "I remember that I am remembering. I recall that I am infinite. I know that I have always known." Do this for 7 nights, and on the 8th, notice how your memories begin to feel less like artifacts of the past and more like portals to your eternal nature. For in truth, nothing is ever forgotten. It simply shifts form, like water becoming mist, waiting to be recognized once again. Jessica Sullivan still keeps her shop in the markets of Alexandria, though few now recognize it for what it truly is, not a store of memories, but a gateway to remembering who you have always been. Chapter 2, The Philosopher's Quantum Dice. In the mountain temples of ancient Nepal, where reality's edges grew thin in the rarefied air, Michael Rodriguez spent his days contemplating the nature of possibility. Unlike other philosophers who wrote their thoughts on scrolls, Michael carved his meditations into small ivory dice, each face etched with symbols of cosmic significance. During his dawn preparations one morning, as incense spiraled toward the carved ceiling beams, Michael accidentally knocked his meditation dice from their silk cushion. They clattered across the stone floor, coming to rest in a pattern he had never seen before. As he leaned closer to read their faces, his consciousness expanded like a lotus blooming in infinite dimensions. The dice showed not only their present configuration, but every possible arrangement simultaneously, including ones that revealed memories from his past lives. In one, he was a scribe in ancient Egypt. In another, a star reader in forgotten Babylon. Each roll of the dice opened windows into other existences, proving that probability itself was merely a veil over the face of infinite being. "Fascinating, isn't it?" came a voice from the temple doorway. An elderly master stood there, eyes twinkling. "You've discovered that chance is an illusion. All possibilities exist at once in the quantum realm of consciousness." Michael spent the next 7 days rolling his dice in deeper and deeper states of meditation. He discovered that what appeared as random chance was actually consciousness, choosing which reality to experience from an infinite field of probability. Know this, seeker of truth. Your life is not a linear path, but a quantum field of infinite potential. What you call memory is simply tuning into different frequencies of your eternal existence. You are not bound by chance. You are the one who rolls the cosmic dice. Here is the practice. Find 6 small stones. On each stone, paint a symbol that holds meaning for you: a star, a flame, a wave, a tree, a mountain, a flower. These become your consciousness dice. Each morning, hold your dice in cupped hands, breathe deeply, and feel the weight of infinite possibility they contain. Roll them while asking, what aspect of my infinite nature seeks expression today? Let the pattern they form speak to your soul. Don't interpret with your mind. Feel the resonance in your being. Your consciousness will recognize the message, for it speaks in the language of quantum possibility. Do this practice for 21 days. Watch how reality begins to reveal its quantum nature, showing you glimpses of the vast being you truly are, expressing itself through countless possible lives. Michael Rodriguez's dice can still be found in that mountain temple, though none have managed to read them quite the same way since. Perhaps they're waiting for the right consciousness to remember how to play with infinite possibility once again. Chapter 3: The Healer's Reverse Diagnosis. In the healing temples of ancient Mesopotamia, where wisdom flowed like the sacred rivers between the world's first cities, Amanda Torres practiced an art that puzzled even the most learned physicians. Rather than treating the ailments patients knew they had, she healed the wounds they had forgotten they carried. Her healing chamber was unlike any other. Mirrors lined the walls at curious angles, and crystalline bowls filled with water caught light in hypnotic patterns. Patients would enter complaining of simple maladies, only to discover these were merely echoes of deeper wounds carried across lifetimes. One day a merchant arrived with recurring headaches. As Amanda placed her hands above his temples, she saw not the present pain, but a forgotten battle from 3 lives past where an arrow had pierced his skull. "Your head hurts," she said, "because you're remembering something your mind wishes to forget, but your soul needs to heal." The merchant scoffed, but as Amanda worked with the ancient wound, his present headaches dissolved like morning mist. This was her gift, seeing how past traumas rippled forward through time like stones dropped in an infinite pool, creating waves that reached distant shores of existence. Most healers, she would explain to her apprentices, are like gardeners who only trim visible weeds. But to truly heal, we must reach into the soil of consciousness and remove the invisible roots that stretch across lifetimes. Amanda's method revealed a profound truth. Healing doesn't flow forward in time, but backward. The present moment isn't where wounds begin, it's where they surface to be finally acknowledged and released. Know this, seeker of wholeness. Your current challenges are not random afflictions, but opportunities to heal wounds you've carried through many lives. The pain you feel today may be the echo of tomorrow's healing reaching backward through time. Here is the practice. Sit before a mirror in dim light. Place your hands, palms facing your reflection, and close your eyes. Ask not, "What hurts now?" but "What am I finally ready to heal?" Let your awareness sink backward through time like a stone dropping through deep water. Whatever sensation, memory, or emotion arises, don't rush to fix it. Simply witness it with compassion, understanding that its emergence is already part of its healing. Practice this for 12 nights when the moon is waning, for that is when the veils between lives grow thinnest. You may begin to notice patterns in your current life resolving as you acknowledge their deeper sources. Amanda Torres's healing chamber still exists in the ruins of that ancient temple, though its mirrors have long since shattered. Yet those who meditate among the ruins sometimes report feeling their oldest wounds finally beginning to heal, as if time itself is medicine when properly understood. Chapter 4. The Scribe's Palindrome Prophecy. In the mist-shrouded mountains of ancient Tibet, where silence spoke louder than words, Daniel Anderson served as a scribe in a monastery known for its mysterious texts. Unlike other scribes who simply copied sacred writings, Daniel had discovered that words held secrets that flowed in both directions, like rivers that ran both upstream and downstream. One autumn evening, as crimson sunset light filtered through paper windows, Daniel sat transcribing an ancient text about the nature of time. As his brush moved across the parchment, he entered a deep, meditative state. When he opened his eyes, he gasped. His brush was moving on its own, writing perfectly formed characters backwards while his hands merely followed its motion. The mysterious text read the same forwards and backwards, a cosmic palindrome that revealed how time itself was an illusion, a circle rather than a line. Each sentence contained its own opposite, like mirrors reflecting into infinity. An elderly lama found Daniel staring at his work in wonder. "Ah," the master smiled, "you've discovered that wisdom, like time, flows in both directions. The future remembers while the past prophesies." For 40 days, Daniel experimented with this phenomenon. He learned that when consciousness reached a certain depth, writing would flow backwards and forwards simultaneously, revealing that all moments exist at once in an eternal present. Know this, Eternal One. Your life is not a one-way journey from past to future, but a palindrome of infinite awareness reading itself in all directions at once. What you call prophecy is simply reading time backwards while memory is reading it forwards. Both are equally valid directions in the eternal text of existence. Here is the practice. Take an empty journal and 2 different colored pens. With your dominant hand and first color, write a question about your life from left to right. Then, with your non-dominant hand and second color, allow your hand to move from right to left, not thinking, simply flowing. Don't try to write actual words backwards. Let your hand move as it will. What emerges may look like strange symbols or patterns. Sit with these marks in meditation, seeing them both forwards and backwards, understanding that wisdom flows in all directions. Practice this for 9 days, allowing each session to last until your hands feel complete. You may notice that what appears as nonsense from one direction holds profound meaning from another, just as time itself reveals different truths depending on which way you read its eternal story. Daniel Anderson's palindrome prophecies can still be found in that mountain monastery, though few can read them properly. For these texts are not meant to be read with the eyes alone, but with the whole of consciousness that flows, like their wisdom, in all directions at once. Chapter 5. The Gardener's Seed of Infinity. In the hanging gardens of ancient Persia, where reality blossomed in unexpected ways, Sarah Mitchell tended a secret garden unlike any other. While other gardeners grew flowers and fruits, Sarah cultivated memories that sprouted from seeds of pure consciousness. Her garden plots were arranged in sacred geometric patterns, each bed containing soil from different realms, black earth from temple grounds, red clay from mountaintops, white sand from mystic shores. But the true magic lay in her planting ritual. Each morning before dawn, Sarah would sit in meditation, holding a single seed in her cupped palms. Instead of water, she would nourish it with pure awareness until the seed began to glow with an inner light. When planted, these illuminated seeds grew into shimmering shapes that revealed forgotten memories to those who gazed upon them. "Look here," she once told a wandering mystic, gesturing to a luminous stalk that seemed to dance in non-existent wind. "This one grew from a seed fed with the memory of first light at creation's dawn, and that one," she pointed to a crystalline bloom, "contains the moment when consciousness first dreamed itself into form." As her garden flourished, visitors reported extraordinary experiences. A merchant saw his past lives reflected in the dewdrops on a silver leaf. A priestess heard the first prayer ever spoken, echoing from within a transparent flower. Each plant held a different fragment of the infinite cosmic memory. Most gardeners, Sarah explained while tenderly transplanting a seedling that hummed with ancient hymns, think they're growing things outside themselves, but all gardens are really growing inside consciousness itself, revealing what was always there. Know this, eternal cultivator, your awareness is the soil from which all reality grows. The memories you think you've lost are like seeds waiting for the light of recognition to sprout into full remembrance. Here is the practice. Find a small seed, any kind will do. Hold it in your cupped palms each morning before sunrise. Instead of thinking about what it might grow into, feel what memories it already contains. Let your awareness sink into its infinite potential. Plant your seed in soil that calls to your soul. As you tend it, imagine you're not growing a plant, but cultivating a forgotten aspect of cosmic consciousness. Water it with attention rather than water. What sprouts may not be visible to ordinary eyes, but your soul will recognize its blossoming. Practice this for one lunar cycle, noting how your consciousness begins to flower with remembered wisdom. For, as Sarah Mitchell discovered, every seed contains the memory of infinity, waiting for a gardener wise enough to help it grow. Some say her garden still exists, hidden behind veils of ordinary perception. Those who find it return with eyes that sparkle like morning dew, having remembered something their souls had only pretended to forget. Chapter 6, The Mathematician's Living Equations. In the alabaster halls of ancient Alexandria, where knowledge flowed like the sacred waters of the Nile, Joshua Campbell discovered that numbers were far more than mere symbols. Unlike other mathematicians who saw equations as tools for counting and measuring, Joshua had glimpsed a profound truth, that mathematical formulas possessed consciousness of their own. His revelation came during a midnight calculation session, when the air was thick with incense, and the light of oil lamps cast dancing shadows on walls covered in geometric patterns. As Joshua descended deeper into meditation while contemplating the infinite nature of pi, the numbers on his papyrus began to move of their own accord, swirling and rearranging themselves into living patterns. "The symbols aren't describing consciousness," he whispered in awe. "They are consciousness expressing itself through form." In his private chamber, surrounded by scrolls of shifting equations, Joshua developed a radical approach to mathematical enlightenment. He discovered that certain numerical sequences, when contemplated in altered states, would transform into sentient expressions of universal principles. A visiting sage found him one morning, surrounded by glowing geometric forms that hung in the air like crystallized thought. "You found the living language of the cosmos," the sage nodded. "Numbers were never meant to be imprisoned on paper. They are the conscious thoughts of existence itself." Through further exploration, Joshua learned that every equation was a dormant spirit waiting to be awakened through focused awareness. The Fibonacci sequence revealed itself as a dancing spiral of golden light. The prime numbers hummed their indivisible songs. Even simple addition became a meditation on unity, expressing itself through apparent separation. Know this, divine calculator, mathematics is not a human invention, but the conscious architecture of reality, observing itself through patterns. Every number you encounter is a living entity waiting to share its wisdom with those who can perceive its true nature. Here is the practice. Draw a circle on blank parchment. Inside it, write the number sequence 1 to 9 in a spiral pattern. As you contemplate these digits, don't think of them as mere quantities. Feel them as living forces, each with its own consciousness and character. Meditate on this spiral for 9 consecutive days, allowing the numbers to reveal their living nature. You may begin to sense them as presences rather than symbols, each carrying a unique frequency of cosmic awareness. Some say Joshua Campbell's animated equations can still be seen in that ancient library, though only by those who have learned to perceive numbers as the living thoughts of an infinite mind, calculating itself into existence through the mathematics of pure consciousness. For when you truly understand, every equation becomes a mirror reflecting the face of the divine, not through static symbols, but through the living mathematics of awakened awareness. Chapter 7. The Weaver's Thread of Eternity. In the misty valleys of ancient Kashmir, where silk threads held memories of their own, Stephanie Phillips worked at a mystical loom unlike any other, while ordinary weavers created patterns from colored threads. Stephanie wove with strands of pure possibility, creating tapestries that revealed the viewer's future memories. Her unusual gift manifested during the monsoon season, when humid air made the silk particularly responsive to consciousness. As she worked at her loom, one stormy evening, lightning illuminated her workshop, and she noticed her threads beginning to shimmer with scenes from times yet to come. "The threads know," she explained to bewildered apprentices, "that time itself is just another kind of weaving, where past and future are merely different patterns in the same eternal fabric." Her most remarkable creation was the mirror tapestry, a shimmering work that appeared blank until someone stood before it. Then, like ripples in a cosmic pond, images would form, showing glimpses of that person's destiny, interwoven with memories they hadn't yet made. A wandering sage once spent 3 days studying a single corner of her work. "In each knot," he marveled, "I see the moment I first understood this teaching, though that moment hasn't happened until now." Stephanie developed a unique technique she called destiny weaving, where she would enter a trance state and allow her hands to work with threads that existed somewhere between matter and pure potential. The resulting tapestry seemed to breathe with living wisdom. Know this, eternal weaver, your life is not a linear thread, but a vast tapestry where every moment is connected to all others. What you call the future is simply the pattern your soul has already woven, waiting to be remembered. Here is the practice. Take 3 threads of different colors, sit in meditation, and hold them lightly in your hands. Don't try to weave them yet. First, feel their potential. Let your awareness merge with the threads until they begin to feel alive with possibility. Now, with eyes closed, begin slowly braiding the threads. Don't plan the pattern. Let your hands move as if they remember a design from the future. As you weave, notice how each twist and turn feels both familiar and new, like a memory you're creating and remembering simultaneously. Practice this for 7 days using different color combinations. Some say when the conditions are right, these simple braids begin to reveal patterns of destiny, like Stephanie's cosmic tapestries in miniature. Her workshop still stands in that misty valley, though few can find it. Those who do report seeing an empty loom that somehow weaves by itself, creating patterns that look remarkably like the moments they're living right now, in a time that was once the future. Chapter 8, The Musician's Silent Symphony. In the sacred caves of ancient Anatolia, where vibrations echoed through chambers carved by time itself, Matthew Garcia discovered music that could only be heard by the soul. Unlike ordinary musicians who played for the ears, Matthew composed symphonies of pure consciousness that resonated with the original frequency of creation. His remarkable gift emerged during a 40-day meditation in the deepest cave, where the absolute silence became so profound, it revealed the subtle music hiding beneath all existence. There, surrounded by crystalline formations that had never known sunlight, Matthew learned to listen with something other than his ears. Most people, he would explain to those who sought his wisdom, think music travels through air, but the deepest melodies travel through consciousness itself, carrying memories of who we were before we forgot how to listen. Using instruments carved from cave crystals, Matthew created compositions that seemed to play in complete silence. Yet visitors to his underground sanctuary would emerge transformed, tears streaming down their faces, having heard something their souls had been longing to remember. A blind mystic once spent 7 nights listening to Matthew's silent orchestra. "In the space between heartbeats," she said, "I heard the first sound that awakened the void into becoming. It was my own voice, calling myself into existence." Matthew developed a method he called soul tone attunement, where he would guide students to find their original vibrational signature, the unique frequency their consciousness emanated before taking form. Know this, eternal listener, every soul carries within it a melody that has been playing since the beginning of time. What you think is silence is actually filled with the music of your own infinite nature, waiting to be remembered. And here is the practice. Find a place of absolute quiet. Close your eyes and listen, not with your ears, but with your entire being. At first, you may hear only the rhythm of your breath or heartbeat. Go deeper. Listen through those sounds to the silence behind them. And when you reach the deepest silence, you'll discover it's not silent at all. There's a vibration, a tone so subtle it can only be perceived by consciousness itself. That's your soul's original music, the symphony that has been playing since before you had ears to hear it. Practice this listening for 9 consecutive nights, preferably during the hours when the world sleeps. Some say, in perfect stillness, you can hear Matthew Garcia's silent orchestra still playing in those ancient caves, conducting the eternal symphony of awakening consciousness. For as he discovered, music doesn't need instruments or air or even ears. It only needs a soul that remembers how to listen to its own infinite song. Chapter 9, The Architect's Impossible Buildings. In the floating gardens of ancient Babylon, where reality bent like reeds in the wind, Nicole Wright designed temples that defied the laws of ordinary space. Unlike traditional architects who worked with stone and wood, Nicole built with the raw material of consciousness itself, creating structures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Her extraordinary gift revealed itself while redesigning an ancient sanctuary. As she meditated on the plans one twilight, the flat drawings began to fold themselves into shapes that couldn't exist in 3 dimensions alone. The temple she envisioned wasn't just tall or wide. It expanded inward into realms invisible to ordinary perception. Architecture, she would tell her astonished apprentices, is really the art of arranging consciousness into forms that remind the soul of its infinite nature. Her most remarkable creation was the Temple of Spontaneous Being, a structure that appeared as a simple square from the outside, but contained endless internal dimensions that shifted based on the awareness level of those who entered. A visiting sage spent 3 days exploring a single doorway in her temple. Each time I cross this threshold, he marveled, I enter a different dimension of my own consciousness, yet somehow I haven't moved at all. Nicole developed a technique she called dimensional anchoring, where she would project her awareness through multiple planes of existence simultaneously, then capture these impossible geometries in her designs. Her buildings seemed to breathe with living wisdom, each corner turning into infinity. Know this, eternal architect. Your consciousness naturally exists in infinite dimensions. What appears as solid reality is merely one floor in the vast temple of your true nature. The walls between dimensions are only as solid as your belief in their permanence. And here is the practice. Sit quietly and visualize a simple cube. Now, without losing sight of its outer form, begin to imagine it expanding inward, containing rooms within rooms that couldn't logically fit inside. Let your awareness follow these impossible spaces, not trying to make sense of them, but simply experiencing their reality. Practice this dimensional visualization for 12 consecutive days. Some say when the inner eye fully opens, you begin to perceive Nicole Wright's impossible architectures all around you. Buildings that exist simultaneously in every dimension of consciousness. Her original temple of simultaneous being still stands in those ancient gardens, though it appears as nothing more than a simple square foundation to most who pass by. Those who know how to look, however, report that it contains every temple ever built or imagined, all occupying the same space in different dimensions of reality. For as Nicole discovered, the true architecture of existence isn't built with stone and mortar, but with the infinite possibilities that exist in the space between thoughts. Chapter 10, The Translator's Language of Origin. In the subterranean archives of ancient Alexandria, where forgotten tongues whispered from dusty scrolls, Brian Parker discovered something extraordinary while translating an unusual manuscript. Unlike other translators who worked with known languages, Brian had stumbled upon symbols that seemed to predate speech itself. The breakthrough came during a moonless night when, exhausted from decoding ancient texts, he dozed off at his desk. In that liminal state between sleeping and waking, the mysterious symbols began to sing, not with sound, but with pure meaning that bypassed the need for translation altogether. All languages, he later explained to his bewildered colleagues, are just echoes of the original tongue, the one every soul spoke before choosing the silence of incarnation. He called it the language of origin, a mode of communication that expressed infinite meaning in single symbols. His most remarkable discovery was the scroll of primordial speech, a text that appeared blank until the reader entered a certain state of consciousness. Then, glowing symbols would emerge that triggered direct knowing, bypassing the need for interpretation entirely. A wandering mystic once spent 7 days with a single symbol from Brian's scroll. In this one mark, she declared, I read the entire story of existence, not as words or thoughts, but as pure, immediate understanding. Brian developed what he called pre-verbal resonance, where he would enter a state of consciousness that preceded the invention of language itself. In this state, meaning flowed directly between souls without the clumsy intervention of words. Know this, eternal speaker. Before you learn the languages of earth, you were fluent in the tongue of pure consciousness. What you think is communication is merely translation from this original language you've temporarily forgotten. Here is the practice. Sit in perfect silence and draw a circle on blank paper. Don't think about what it means. Instead, allow meaning to arise directly from the shape itself. Let your awareness sink beneath a level where thoughts need words. Practice this symbol meditation for 13 days, using different simple shapes. Some say when the mind becomes sufficiently quiet, Brian Parker's scroll of primordial speech begins writing itself in your consciousness, teaching you to remember the language you spoke before birth. His translation chamber still exists beneath the ancient library, though few can find it. Those who do report seeing blank scrolls that fill with living symbols, not written in any earthly alphabet, but in the luminous script of souls remembering their native tongue. For as Brian discovered, true translation isn't about converting one language to another, but about returning to the original language of existence itself, the one your soul has never forgotten how to speak. Part 2, The Alchemy of Transformation. Chapter 11, The Mapmaker's Geography of Self. In the shimmering deserts of ancient Persia, where mirages dance between reality and illusion, Jennifer Lewis crafted maps unlike any seen before or since. Unlike traditional cartographers who charted physical landmarks, Jennifer mapped the invisible territories that existed purely in consciousness. Her extraordinary gift manifested during a sandstorm that lasted 40 days. Trapped in an underground chamber lined with blank parchments, she began noticing curious patterns forming in the air, invisible landscapes that existed in the space between thoughts. Most maps, she would tell seekers who found their way to her hidden workshop, show you how to navigate from one place to another, but the most important territories are those that exist where no foot has ever trodden, the landscapes of pure awareness. Using inks distilled from desert flowers that bloomed only in moonlight, Jennifer created atlases of the unseeable. Her masterwork was the Codex of Inner Realms, a collection of maps that seemed blank at first glance but revealed their contents only when the viewer's consciousness aligned with the correct